All right. It is good to be back. Mark, how are you?
Is hey, listen, America 250 week. I'm feeling good.
250 week.
Short work week. We get off on Friday because the holiday's on Saturday. So I know some people maybe
Same
taking a
here.
lot of time off. It's one of those where it's like the week in the office where it's like, is everyone else just kind of watching the World Cup on their phone and not really working right now? Because I feel like that's what everyone's doing, and
Yeah.
certainly what I've been doing. I've been pretty heavy on the World Cup. Not gonna lie. Um, with the Cubs resurgence over the last 2 weeks, I've been leaning back into my Cubs. Um, but otherwise, I'm surviving a heat wave here in Central Illinois, as we're dealing with that. But otherwise, trying to just have a relaxing week heading into America 250.
For sure. Yeah, we were both off for a week here. I was on vacation in the Keys, which was awesome, very hot there as well. And it's always kind of a double-edged sword when you're coming back off of a long leave and then coming back into a shortened week. So I've not only got to pick up a week's worth of, catch
That's
up,
tough.
but
That's
then
tough.
also got to get the things done that need to get done in a shortened period of time this week, because we do have that
That's tough.
holiday coming up on Friday, but it's exciting nonetheless. Um,
Are you? I know you're kind of new in your. You still live in the same area that you've been in for a while, but you're in a
yeah,
new part of it. Is there like, are you discovering anything exciting for the fourth holiday? Are you doing anything fun?
we are. I have my mother-in-law in town, who is getting her place set up out here as well. So we're helping her with that, and we were just going to do a barbecue at our place.
Very nice.
And we recently got the patio put in, and I'm installing a pergola in said patio in a few weeks, along with the help of Brandon Salm, friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Um, so we're gonna grill out on the patio. Hopefully, it's a nice day, and
Nice.
yeah, just keep it low key and chill, honestly. But I'm looking forward to it.
It's
Probably
just
watch
it's
the
just
Cubs.
me and my stepson for the fourth holiday weekend. My wife and my stepdaughter are doing a girls trip, and so I haven't told him this yet. He's not watching, so I'm not worried. But I think on the fourth, the day of the fourth, I told my wife I was like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna only eat things we can cook by open flame. We're just I was like,
Let's
I
go.
want to
Oh yeah,
build. I just want to get the fire pit going in the backyard early and be like,
and
we
just
are
throw things on it.
we are open flame, just whatever we can make on the open flame. Dogs, put a skillet down. You put the tray over the flame, where then you can put a skillet on it or something. I'm excited. I was like, crack, like get some root beers and an open
And some
flame
root beers. I like
meats.
it.
He's
Nice.
a he's a
There
huge
are um
he's a root beer
there are
guy.
apparently there are Dr. Pepper brats that exist, and they're supposed to be very good, so we're gonna try and hunt those down and
That's
have that
interesting.
among
I
other things.
have.
But
It's funny. I'm one of those people who I grew up when my dad makes brats. He did the beer brats where it's like you would. So if you don't know what that is, you would like basically sear them on like each side, get those grill marks, and then finish the rest of the cooking in like a cast iron skillet
yeah,
boiling in beer. And so it gets a little bit of that beer flavor in the sausage while you boil off the alcohol. It's not like you're getting drunk off sausages if you're eating them as a kid. Um, I remember the first time I tried to make brats with my wife. She looked at me. She's like, "What the hell are you doing?" She's like, "You're cooking for the family." I'm like, "Yeah, we're making brats." And she's like, "No, like that's not happening." And so then I kind of realized, like, yeah, it's probably not the smartest way to go about it. And she likes really charred, real charred brats. So
sure. Yeah.
it's fine. Listen, it's easy. I char them up. Let's go. But to each their own on your holiday cooking adventures.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the Cubs, who have 626 players on the IL currently. Um, but I also saw, when I came back from vacation, I saw this. Did you see the story about Josh Naylor?
I did not know.
Um, so longtime first baseman. There's a story. I think the guy's name is Stone Garrett. I honestly didn't recognize the player, but this player like came out. Apparently, this is an old story. It was known before, but it's resurfaced that Josh Naylor is just supposedly like an insane like player, just a crazy guy in the clubhouse that nobody can like trust, and he's the wild card.
Okay.
Um, this guy said that he was so intense that he would pull these like very dangerous pranks on people, and he pulled it on this one guy where he went into his home when he was away and hid in his closet with a knife. And when he went into the closet to go, grab, change of clothes or whatever, he came out and, did it so violently that he actually ended up stabbing the guy in his thumb. And the guy said he still to this day doesn't have feeling in his thumb. But at the time they were in the minors, they were roommates together or whatever.
Jesus.
And he said that the team like called the next day and basically were like, yeah, we'll take care of your hospital bill, but like we're not, doing anything. He got a 1-game suspension in the minor leagues, and then like a week later he was traded, they said.
Yeah.
I was like, that's insane, man. And it just reminded me, some athletes there's some crazy stories of
Well, I don't know how much news we're doing to start the show, but Tyrion Arnold. I mean, I don't know where we're going with the kidnapping
the Lions
and
cutting bait with him pretty quickly.
When you read those reports, Dan, holy smokes!
I see. I haven't read probably as much as you, because I've only kind of seen the surface level information, and that was already like, oh, that's kind of intense. But
it's also just like it's one of those where you're just like, everyone gets their day in court. You're gonna have your time to speak on whatever it is against the charges against you. Maybe you don't, so you choose not to speak. I don't know, but it has to be one of those where you're reading it, you're like, I get he's not a quarterback. I get he's not the guy who's like making the decisions. He's not the captain of the team, but like the decision making has to come into question of like, as just a human being in general, like that's what you're deciding to do. This is how you're handling the situations that are thrust at you. Is just wild stuff, dude. Wild stuff.
It's crazy. It's crazy. There's always some wild cards out there, and obviously it gets much more publicized when they are public figures in this instance. So there you have it. But you sent along an interesting article that was Pete Prisco's top 100 players going into 2026. And then you were able to extract from that his top 10 quarterbacks based on that list. And so that's what we're here to discuss, kind of pick it apart a little bit and give our thoughts on the top quarterbacks heading into 2026. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right, Pete Prisco's top 100 NFL players of 2026. And Myles Garrett's number one in the league. We can talk about his overall top 10 rankings if we want, but the quarterbacks are very interesting, and that's kind of what we're going to highlight here for the show. So number one, he has Matt Stafford. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with it going into 2026? That is a caveat that we have to include here. This is a 1-year deal. This isn't a for the future type of thing.
His list says basically, yes, it's like going in right now for this next year, who are the best players in the NFL. It's hard to not say Stafford. He makes a great case for it. Obviously, the Rams are his 1 and 2, I think, best players in the league. I think it is Myles Garrett and then Stafford 1-2 on his list. Listen, he's the MVP. He is it's still proving how incredibly talented he is. It feels like every year, like we get to rediscover Matt Stafford. And I truly think that Stafford is now compiled quite possibly the most unique NFL career of all time, because he truly was that guy who we could just kind of write off as like the 5th or 6th best quarterback always, because he didn't win. He played a losing franchise and they were never in marquee games. And then it's like all of a sudden he has this second half of his career where he's now in every marquee game. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got the Super Bowl ring. He's got an MVP ring because he's now being showcased. But then you have the argument of like, well, he's old. He's older, So it's like it's just like he's never feels like it's easy to just give him his flowers without a caveat. I would argue this is a fair time to say, sure, I'm not going to argue too much with a Pete Prisco. That is certainly the least argumentative thing I have on my list of what Pete Prisco's top 10 would be, having Stafford at 1 going into the year that he just won the MVP and was terrific. And I would argue with the weapons he has, the motivation he has, the contract, everything. Yeah, with that system in that place, there's no reason to think he's not going to produce as the number 1 quarterback next year.
Yeah, I don't have too much of a disagreement with it either because of those reasons that you stated. But I would say, like, if I'm gonna issue some sort of disagreement with this list at the number 1 spot, I would just say that putting a guy who I would venture to say has a increased injury risk as compared to others going into 2026, I think I would feel comfortable with Josh Allen at number 1 because his injury history is very thin and he's an MVP as well, who plays at that level, and you would feel pretty confident saying that he's going to play at that level again next year. Whereas for Stafford, the fall off can happen at any moment. You're older. He's just a year and change off of a, significant elbow injury that I thought was going to kind of signal that downfall. Kudos to him. He comes back. It's an MVP season afterwards. But those are the only issues I would take with that overall. But he does have Josh Allen at number 2. And so I'm not in disagreement there. Would you say that Allen deserves to be ahead of the Mahomes, the Lamars of the world currently?
Yeah, I mean, Allen is number 1 on my list, so I would put Allen 1. I would not have Mahomes. I would have Mahomes 2, Stafford 3. That's my top 3. Like in the
I think we agree on that. Yeah.
I think Mahomes coming off the injury is a concern, but all signs point to he's going to start week 1 right now. At least that's what they're making it seem like. And I get a motivated Patrick Mahomes off of the worst year of his career, performance, and then injury. I'm still buying more stock in Patrick Mahomes than I would be selling it. So I have Stafford 3. Listen, as long as those are your top 3, and those are not Pete Prisco's top 3, and that's where I think, to me, the first giant gripe I have with Pete Prisco's list is that he has Burrow at 3 over Mahomes, and I'm struggling to figure out how that's possible, especially in another year where, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe Flacco ended up playing for Cincinnati last year because once again, Joe Burrow couldn't stay healthy for a whole season. And as much as I love Joe Burrow, and I do think if you could turn off injuries, Joe Burrow is a guy I would have right at the top of my list of I'd be so thrilled to have him as my franchise quarterback. Unfortunately, you can't just ignore the injury concern. And since that Super Bowl run, it has been nothing but disappointment and injuries for Joe Burrow. And that's 4 years ago now. I mean, it's starting to feel starting to feel like, yes, when he plays, there are few that are better, but the when he plays is a huge issue. So I think Prisco going Burrow ahead of Mahomes is a huge, huge miss.
When you said there are few better when he's playing, and I would argue amongst that few is Mahomes, and he doesn't have Mahomes. If you're gonna say that they're both on equal footing going into the year, now maybe his reasoning for Mahomes is the injury only. But to your point, Burrow hasn't been healthy for a full season in quite some time, so that has to be taken into account. if they're both coming back to the season fully healthy or close to fully healthy, I still think Mahomes is better. I mean, this is the part of the conversation in sports that gets a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Tom Brady was the best for a long time. Peyton Manning, sure, you could argue in there during that time, fine. But there was a period of time, in that 10-year stretch where Brady wasn't winning any rings, where people were starting to, say, oh, he's not the GOAT, and it's because you get sick of the same guy being the best all the time. You get sick of hearing about LeBron being the best for 20 years in a row, or Jordan. But it's like sometimes these guys, they just are, and you have to accept it. And they are until they aren't. Mahomes, yeah, he had a rough year, so I think that aspect of it knocks him down a peg. But to say that this guy isn't a top 3 quarterback in the NFL anymore, is just bonkers. Like,
it is.
If we see a 2-year, 3-year stretch where he's just wrong on all levels and like he's just not performing close to the level that we knew him at, then you could start to have the conversation.
Great.
But one down year with the travesty that was their group of weapons, that was their defense and offensive line at times. There's some leeway there to say, okay, it wasn't all Mahomes, that he still is really, really good. So that's what frustrates me about that sometimes, is we just got to find the new shiny object, or the way to be contrarian when it's not really necessary.
100%. I agree with you. So again, Prisco's list is Stafford 1, Allen 2, Burrow 3, Mahomes 4. Yeah. My list 1 through 4 would include Caleb Williams at 4. Now I know that's going to be something we can start the debate later on. We can really get into that. I have my reasons why I feel that way. Just ahead of Burrow at 5. Prisco has Lamar at 5. Are you comfortable with Lamar being at 5, Dan, on this list? What's your gut reaction on Lamar at 5?
I am okay with Lamar being at 5 because the biggest knocks on him are really about coming through in the clutch moments in the playoffs, which are fair. Herbert has those same concerns, but at the same time, he's still he has the highest passer rating, in NFL history. His dual threat ability is still very much there. You could definitely argue the past few years, with the combination of Todd Monken and John Harbaugh, that it wasn't really an environment conducive to him flourishing, and he still was able to get this team, to solid.
He won an MVP,
he won an MVP. He won divisions. Last year was a sure disappointment, but they also just didn't have many weapons. Mark Andrews was hurt for a huge chunk, and they haven't had wide receivers to speak of in quite some time, right? Zay Flowers is the first one in his career that's remotely good, and he's more of a great slot, but not an X. So this year we'll see what happens, because they've got those receivers in place now. They have a new staff. So that's going to be the big question. I don't take objection with him being at 5. I have some bigger objections with his list overall on here.
Yeah, Lamar lands a little lower on my list, but I'm not going to fight people on that. I think my concern, again, if the list is going into this year, I do have some concerns with a whole new staff in Lamar. You got to remember, Lamar was given such a red carpet entrance into this league, where he really had a very talented Ravens team with a future Hall of Fame coach, and he was able to get all the support in the world. Lamar has basically kind of taken over the franchise. It's a little bit of a coup, it feels like, where it was like you're choosing between John Harbaugh and Lamar, and where this it felt like it wasn't working. I struggle to see how that is Harbaugh's issue, as far as, from what I can tell, he's not the other Harbaugh. John Harbaugh seems a lot
Yeah.
more like the level-headed, reasonable, great head coach that I think was getting frustrated at times with his superstar quarterback for X amount of reasons. The thing that interests me is this is now a first time we're ever going to get to see a whole new coaching staff look at Lamar and say, what are we doing? And his offensive coordinator is a guy who's never called plays before. He was the Bears offensive coordinator last year. The Bears offense doesn't really seem like an offense that would be the most Lamar Jackson friendly. It's a run heavy offense. That's Derrick Henry friendly. And if you're going to say, hey, Lamar's going to kill you off of play action, and we're going to do a lot of that, I'm interested in that. But it's the first time I'm like, I will feel a lot more comfortable moving Lamar up to position 4 or 5 on this list after the first 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's still Lamar. Things are looking good. New coaching staff has figured this out, and he's happy. And everything's okay. That's my only real concern, because he's a Hall of Fame player at this point in his career. He's one of the most dynamic athletes the football field has ever seen, and so as he's aging, I'm not worried about him aging the way Cam Newton did. They're very different players, and I would be shocked if all of a sudden it just looked like Lamar just didn't have it. That would really surprise me. The way it didn't surprise me with Cam, it would really surprise me with Lamar. That's not a concern right now.
So my 5 goes Allen, Mahomes, Stafford, Burrow, Lamar.
Yeah.
Those are my
I think
5.
that's a great traditional 5. I would have no real argument with that. I listen, I'm in love with Caleb Williams right now, and I think I'm all in on the Iceman, the Madden cover, and buying stock in a growing asset. I also think
I have him at number 6, though. I have him right behind Lamar. So
we're not far off.
I'm very high. And so
my thing is, and I think I would agree with that. Your list is probably the more accurate list that I should sign off on, and let's put Caleb at 6 if we're building this as a team, and I'll take a little bit of my Bears bias out of it. But I do think that this is where I get the real gripes with Prisco's list. Because if you count Prisco's list, Caleb Williams doesn't show up to quarterback number 13. So he has Dak at 6, Jordan Love at 7, Goff.
Yeah, that right there. 6 and 7
we can get it,
are the most egregious parts.
Absolutely.
Of this
Goff at 8. No problem with Goff at 8. I think Goff is somewhere in that 8 to 11 range. His numbers are incredible. The system has been great since over the last 3 years in Detroit. His numbers are top 3 numbers in the NFL. I get it if you're saying he's not as dynamic arm-wise, not as dynamic mobile, but you can't deny the production. He then has May at 9, Herbert at 10. Listen, we can split hairs on a lot of those guys, right? I have no – if you want to show Dak the love because Dak is produced at such a high level, fine. But Dak then should still be in that group below him where you're arguing about dynamic versus production. And Jordan Love makes no sense. Jordan Love and Caleb Williams should be flipped. And people are going to say, you're a Bears fan. I have the receipt. So if you want to get in the Jordan Love conversation, that to me is like the bulk of my argument for this is the Jordan Love conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I want to hear it.
Okay,
sure.
So let's talk about Jordan Love. Jordan Love in 2023, his first year as the full-time starter, he gets that wild card win over the Cowboys and then should have beaten the Niners in San Francisco. Looked fantastic in that game. And then what happened? He made one of the worst throws of all time in a playoff game to cost his team a chance to win that game. Interception, the Niners win that game. But the world is sky high on Jordan Love. You're talking about him like you're talking about CJ Stroud, where you're like, this dude's probably a top 5 quarterback. That year, 32 touchdown passes, 11 interceptions. He started every single game, 4,100 yards. He also ran for 4 touchdowns, so 35 touchdowns combined. You're like, this guy is going to rocket ship. Now, he came in second in the NFC North because that was the Lions also coming out year. And you're like, oh, okay, well, the Lions had a crazy year with Ben Johnson, but Jordan Love, everyone, the Packers were a Super Bowl pick from everyone the following year. We're not paying Jordan Love anything, skyrocket. 2024, misses games, injuries show up, 15 games played, misses 2 games early in the year. Production falls off a cliff. 25 touchdown passes, 11 interceptions. So the same amount of interceptions, 2 less games played. His rushing yards, non-existent. 83 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. So you lose 160 yards on the ground, which is 10 yards a game. That's a first down a game. So he's choosing to be less dynamic, or they get that out of his system for whatever. And then 3,300 yards passing. I mean, off a cliff. You're talking about a 900 yard passing drop in 2 games. So it's not even like there's just the 2 games. Even if you give him 300 yards a game there, it's nothing. It just doesn't feel like it's working, right? Okay, a little bit of a slump, injuries, don't worry. Last year, bounce back, Jordan Love, Packers, Super Bowl pick. They lost in the wild card that, by the way, in 2024, 3rd in the NFC North. They made it and they squeaked in as the 7th seed. Love last year, not healthy, 15 games, started, but missed most of one of those starts with an injury. 23 touchdown passes, another dramatic drop. So again, even if he started you give him 2 extra touchdown passes on the games he missed, you're talking about still mid-20s in touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, no rushing touchdowns. He did run a little bit more last year, almost 200 yards rushing. Lost in the wild card game to the Bears when they were up 21-3. And
the 6 picks is
6
good,
picks.
though.
He cuts
That's a significant
cuts
drop.
down in interceptions.
He halved his interceptions.
Yes, he cuts down interceptions, but injuries are now a real thing. The only reason Malik Willis is a starting quarterback in the NFL right now is because Jordan Love has been injury plagued the last 2 years. And I don't think you can ignore that. And where in those stats, where in that story, right? He has not won a division in 3 years as a starter. He has come in the wild card 7th spot 3 years in a row. So he wouldn't have even made the playoffs unless they changed the format, which they did conveniently the first year he made it into the playoffs as a 7 seed. He has 1 playoff win 3 years ago against a Cowboys team in Dallas that no one thought was great. And the production has consistently dropped. The only thing you could argue got better was the interceptions, but when you're missing games, it's hard to put all that into quantifiable action. He's now old. Like, you remember, this was a guy who played multiple years of college and then sat for 2 full years, barely playing. The guy is paid at almost $60 million a year. I don't understand at all how you can look at that and say, you know what, I like the trajectory of that. Take out Caleb Williams. How is he better than Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold just won a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold was 15-1 as a starter the year before and led his team to ahead of the Packers in the division. And Sam Darnold, since starting those 5 games for Carolina, leads the league in literally everything passing-wise. So you have 2.5 years now of Sam Darnold, 3 years he didn't start in San Francisco, so he played those 5 games. So over your last 30-something starts as a quarterback, if you take every quarterback's last 30 starts, Sam Darnold is number 1 in like everything. And he just won a Super Bowl and was brilliant on his way to winning that Super Bowl with a different head coach, with a defensive head coach in an equally tough division. So take Caleb out of it. How are you putting Jordan Love above Sam Darnold? It makes no sense what Pete Prisco is saying there. That to me is, again, that discredits his whole list. Because if the list is based on where they are right now and projecting into the year, I get you can say, listen, I have a lot of faith in Jordan Love. If your list is, these are the quarterbacks I want over the next 3 years, and you're going to argue I have more faith in Jordan Love than I do Sam Darnold, I would disagree, but I can at least understand maybe where you're coming from. There's no momentum anywhere in the world that says that Jordan Love has more momentum than Sam Darnold. Certainly no more momentum than Caleb Williams, when Caleb Williams is the Madden cover athlete, started 17 games 2 years in a row, better stats than Jordan Love last year, beat Jordan Love in the comeback game, and clearly has an aura and a momentum of the moment that you look at and you go, no one picked the Bears to win the division last year. They win the division. Jordan Love has not won a division, and they have the same amount of playoff wins. And Caleb's came last year against Jordan Love. Jordan Love came 3 years ago against the Cowboys. So
right. Yeah,
Prisco's list,
it's absolutely
it just doesn't add up. If the list was guys I believe in, then sure. If you want to make that crazy argument, you believe in Jordan Love more than Caleb and guys like Darnold, fine. But I just don't see that at all.
I think it's even a leap over guys like Lawrence and Herbert, to be quite honest. So I don't really agree with any of that assessment either. I'm gonna go let the dog in real quick. You want to give us the intro to the bottom?
Yes,
part
I'll keep going with Prisco. List. You take care of Remy there real quick. So Prisco goes post Jordan Love. Obviously, he goes Goff, May, Herbert, as we said. That's 8, 9, 10. That rounds out his 10. So in Pete Prisco's list in the top 10, no Sam Darnold, no Caleb Williams, no Trevor Lawrence. I think those are the guys who'd have the biggest gripe. Some people would argue Jay Daniels should have a gripe that he's not anywhere in the top 10. Dan, what I'm saying here is if you look at Prisco's top 10, right? Stafford, Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, Lamar, Dak, Love, Goff, May, Herbert. That means Lawrence, Daniels, Williams, Darnold, Purdy, Hurts, Baker Mayfield. Those are the guys I'd argue probably have the biggest gripe for not being in the top 10. What changes are you making to Prisco's list to say, I'm moving those guys up, those guys out, and this would be the rest of your top 10. So let's agree that you and I have Allen, Mahomes, Stafford, Burrow, Lamar, Caleb. Okay.
Yeah. That's correct.
So where are we going at 7?
So I have differences the rest of the way from his list. At 7 for me, and 7 and 8 in my view are kind of interchangeable here. But I'm giving this guy a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Is Justin Herbert at 7 for me? I think there can be a case to be made that he is down at 10 as well. He hasn't had any playoff success, and there have been some questions in general about even just coming through in big moments through the regular season. So that's all fair. But I have him and Lawrence at 7, 8. So that just goes to show you, this is the part where I feel like I'm a little controversial. Like, I think I probably have Lawrence a lot higher than most people, but given the year that he just had, I feel very confident that he's finally arrived. And
he's got his
year's version. Yeah. So I think last year's version of Lawrence is more indicative of who Trevor Lawrence is than what the previous.
So then who's 9, 10?
Goff is 9. And then 10, I have Darnold, just ahead of May.
So I agree with you. Those are the exact names that I have, right? Those are the names that I have. My order would be a little different. I put Darnold at 6 for momentum. But I do think Darnold's biggest question mark is the offensive coordinator. Yeah. You know, you lose your offensive coordinator, becomes the head coach of the Raiders, Kubiak, who I think he has a chance to be a special offensive mind of the league. He's got his dad is an influence. He feels very Shanahan-y. He comes from the Shanahan world, the McVay world. He's young. He's extremely proven at a young age. And then he has his dad as well, who's was a great offensive coordinator, offensive mind in this league for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so that is my question with Darnold. But at some point in time, you have 30 plus games. It's like 32, 33 games, including the playoffs, of evidence that Sam Darnold is extraordinarily productive in this league right now. more so than most quarterbacks in the NFL. And as bad as it was those last 2 games in Minnesota, this playoff run has to at least not just negate that. It has to turn it a little bit more towards he can play in big games, because he was good in the big games. He wasn't
right.
He wasn't 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he showed up, and it wasn't like it wasn't like a guy who's never been there before showing up. He's a guy who had disastrous moments and now had to show up. Like Herbert's had disastrous moments and responded with disastrous moments. Right?
Yeah, you don't get that monkey off the back until you get the monkey off the back.
So I'm gonna give more love to Darnold. And again, he's 27. Like, it's insane. He's big. He's strong. I'm very, very high on Darnold.
Wait, is he really 27 years old?
Yeah, dude. He's younger than Love. He's
29. He's 29.
Okay, maybe. All right.
I was like, there's no way.
So he's 29
young. Is still.
So he's not. I would argue he's in his prime, right? Like he's prime.
For sure.
He's peaking.
For sure in his prime. Yeah.
And so I go Darnold, Herbert, and then
Love is 27. So yeah, you were.
Okay. So I go Darnold, Herbert, Goff, and then Lawrence. And to me, Lawrence, I think there's, again, where it makes this so crazy that he has Dak and Jordan Love there, is that to me then is where you say, okay, I now can make the argument of like 8, 9, 10 through 15 is a cluster. And the reason it's such a cluster is because you have numbers, you have measurables, right? And then you have like the intangibles guys. So like the numbers guys like Dak and Goff are going to argue like, look at the numbers. Like, are you insane? Like, I'm better than them. The Lawrence guys, the Drake May guys, the Jane Daniels guys get to go, look at the measurables. Look at the highlight reels. Like at our peak, I'm top 5. Like, you're not top 5. And then you have the intangible guys, right? The Bakers, the Purdys. I think you can argue, if people want to argue Bo Nix or whatever, be like, hey, I got Hurts, right? I have really good numbers. I have maybe some giant trophies on my shelf like Hurts, but for some reason it just feels like there's still this big question mark around it.
They've got like good leadership qualities. Clearly, they're locker room dudes who people rally around them. Maybe not as much Hurts as the others, but
Prisco has Hurts at 13. Prisco has Hurts at 17. I think that's low.
That's pretty low.
Yeah. So if we say that's our 10, right? We're gonna cap it. We're gonna say, all right, that's our 10. Argue with us if you want. How would we go 11 through 15? Right. Let's if we can try.
Tough. I mean, 11. I'm putting May probably there.
I'm going to go Drake May as well. I'll agree with you. I'm going Drake May.
I think Dak probably at 12.
So that's where I have. So my hardest thing with the NFC East is I think Jane Daniels, talent-wise, still can be extraordinarily elite.
For sure. It's just hard because we've seen one really productive year and
last year was a disaster. And the injury, the elbow injury scares me more than any of the leg injuries, because that's one of those where I'm like, I think this dude might just be fragile. He literally just I know we've probably spent 3 hours on this podcast of me just going, he set his arm down and it went the other way. It's the weirdest injury of all time. It's the weirdest injury of all time that I've ever seen. And I don't have an explanation for it. Like it's like, his bones, something is fragile in that man. But I would argue he's the guy who would go, well, his talent is off the roof. And then Hurts goes, I have a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, and I've been to a Super Bowl and lost, but I threw like 400 yards in that Super Bowl. So I have a hard if you're gonna go with an NFC East quarterback, to me, the first NFC East quarterback that's on your list has to be Hurts.
Yeah.
You
No,
know what I
you're
mean?
probably right. You're probably right. I
Which
guess I would agree with that. I think Hertz has hit this sort of plateau, and there's so many other external issues that we may be projecting onto him as well, with
yeah,
the team and the leadership there and the wide receiver drama. But I guess you're right. Like, if you're
and
picking
he's a
among
tank. He
those
doesn't
three,
miss
you
games.
probably got to go with him going into the year, recognizing that Jaden Daniels of the three has the highest ceiling,
I think I would agree, yes. And then Dak
yeah,
is the most
the
productive by far.
safest. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
he's
would,
the
I
safest.
would, and I think if we're doing this list, we go. I'm okay going May 11. I do think we have to then recognize Hurts at probably 12.
That's fair.
So then the question becomes: do we then go Dak, or are you more Purdy, Mayfield, Nix, Daniels? Those are the guys to me in
Yeah,
this discussion.
that's tough. I mean,
I think I'd go Dak.
I go probably Dak, and then I'd probably go Mayfield
So
at
that goes
14.
so Dak at 13, Mayfield 14, 15.
J-
I think
Now,
you're then
you got to probably put Love in. Like,
so then you go Love. I would say probably Love. I would take Love ahead of Nix, ahead of Daniels, ahead of Purdy.
yeah, that
So
seems
Love
right.
15.
I that feels right.
We're gonna have to make that graphic. And then let
Where do you
people
put
argue
Kyler
this.
Murray? Because
Well, that's gonna be
who
interesting.
knows what Kevin O'Connell can unleash with Kyler Murray somehow?
So Kyler to me is that guy who you start talking about, and he now enters the conversation 15 on. 15 on is a different conversation, right? There's guys like, okay, I got to get them on the list quickly. Knicks,
Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers, Baker, Purdy, all those guys who, like we said, and I would agree, Kyler is in that. Get him on the list immediately. And then it's that interesting, like, okay, Tyler Shuck versus Cam Ward versus youth and inexperienced Jackson Dart. That's something I think we could maybe do.
Malik Willis. I mean,
yes, I think would be a fun episode for us to do 16 on, and maybe we'll wait. Maybe we'll wait for Chris Sims when he does his list, because we like to break that one down too.
Yeah, true.
Or we can maybe pick that apart. But to me, the debate is really how you want to go 6 through 15. Because I do agree. I think Stafford, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, those are your 5. And then how do you go 6 through 15? I think it's crazy that Prisco has Dak and Love that high.
Yeah, that's pretty egregious, I would say.
Especially with the idea of like momentum going into this year. It's like, if it's based on like going into this year, that's crazy. I would argue where Hurts gets more love from me is if you told me right now, like, clean slate, who do you have to sign a quarterback for the next 5 years? Hurts to me is then in the top 10. Because I'm not taking Stafford on a 5-year contract, so he's out.
You're probably not taking Burrow on a 5-year contract, are you?
I would, but it feels tough, right? Like, it feels really tough. Feels really tough.
Hurts may jump in there.
Hurts to me, he jumps into the top 10 because I have. So my list of next 5 years, I'm signing them to Allen, Mahomes, Caleb, Herbert, Burrow, May, Darnold, Hurts, Lamar, Daniels. I go Lamar, Daniels. So Lamar,
no Trevor in there. There's no Trevor,
because Trevor, to me with Trevor, my issue is this. Well, I think he's going to be playing in 5 years from now. The only evidence I have of Trevor Lawrence being consistently successful is 1 year, that first year with a new head coach, and that first year with a new head coach. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, like, if Trevor elevates this year, then he skyrockets up my sign the list. You know what I mean? But I struggle right now with Trevor being like,
Well, we didn't even put CJ Stroud in.
So Stroud is
that
in the
might have
15.
been a big miss for us. Yeah,
No, he's in the 15 conversation. He's not in my top 15.
No, I agree. But I think he's probably like one of the first on the, you got to get him in here ASAP between 15 and 20.
Yes, because he's shown such promise and he does win. But there is a ton of no momentum. Yeah.
Agreed. So, it's an interesting.
The next 5 years one is a tough list because obviously May goes up. I still feel confident about Darnold because Darnold's a guy who's shown me in multiple places with offensive head coaches and now a defensive head coach he can win.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels is a tough one to evaluate then because that could be a huge payoff.
Yeah, Daniels to me is in that conversation, but he's barely in there at 10. Lamar drops down because I think Lamar by year 4 of that contract, I don't know if I'm loving that at all.
Yeah. Stafford's not in there, obviously.
Stafford's out. Goff is out of the top 10 there.
Yeah.
Just because of Goff. Goff is going to age.
Dak's
poorly.
out.
Dak is out, obviously not in that conversation. And then Allen and Mahomes, I'm basically signing them to the 5-year deals, knowing that years 1, 2, and 3, I feel really strong about. But I will have some. I'd be surprised if year 4 and 5 are bad, but I wouldn't be shocked, especially with Allen, how physical he is. And with Mahomes, listen, I think we're on a slight downward trend the last 2 years. So I'm not. I think there's evidence to say listen, I'd probably go Caleb number 1. Like if you're really wanting to go that route, I can make the argument Caleb number 1.
Hey, I mean, this year will be a very telling year for those types of Caleb projections because if he builds off of last year, then he is immediately in the top 5 conversation, consensus.
Yeah.
Right?
Listen,
I love thought at that point.
I love Pete Prisco. I think he's great on CBS. I think he's great on podcasts. Every time he's on Pardon My Take, I love it. I think he's a smart football mind. I think there's some egregious decision making,
Yeah.
I know he
on
was
the level
not,
of Terry and Arnold, or
he was not high on Caleb coming out, and I think it's a little bit of that hater bias, being like
he's got to stick to his initial.
Prove it yet. But if you're talking about momentum going into this year, I think it's insane to not have Caleb as a top 10 quarterback.
I agree. Caleb Williams is going to have a phenomenal year if he stays healthy. I think that's.
And Drew Aller, he's going to be on this list next year. Drew Aller.
We'll see. Maybe, yeah. If he is on the list, that means that things went very poorly for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But obviously, maybe not. But
maybe he showed up. Maybe he shucks us.
Maybe he does. Yeah. I'm actually interested to see what all of this means for Will Howard, because there's all this now like new hype with Drew Aller coming out. And I still very much like Will Howard. Now he's a 6th round pick and Aller's a 3rd rounder who was projected to be a first just a year before. So there's difference there and probably, talent level coming into the league. But I do feel excited to see where the season goes for them. I mean, hopefully Aaron stays healthy and they get him for his final season. But if not, that could signal kind of disaster for them. Or, in your point, maybe we're talking about Aller being in a top 10 list, which would be some good news. So, but this was always good stuff to talk about this time of year. The lists start to come out. The NFL top 100 players as voted on by the players has started to
Montez Sweat
revealed.
made an appearance.
All right. Well, there you go.
It's like, okay. All right.
That's the players for you.
That was a little bit of a. I love Montez. Listen, I'm hoping for big things. That was a little bit of a surprise. He had a nice finish to the year. He made some plays in the playoffs, so maybe it's
reputations. Reputations kind of carry guys through sometimes as well. That'll happen. But this is a fun one. Glad you put this on the radar, and we'll have more episodes like this on the horizon. But we are the Football Lounge with Mark and Dan, part of the For Frequency Sake Podcast Network. If you go to forfantasysakeqc.com, you can sign up for the Toys for Tots League that will be coming up this fall. Of course, it's a great thing we do every year here at the network to donate to a great charity, the Toys for Tots there. So be a part of the league. We've got hundreds of teams every year, and we're trying to beat that out, trying to go clear 200 once again. So if you want to sign up, head over there. You can check out For Fantasy Sake QC on social media too for some of those links. But that will do it for Mark and myself here today, and we'll see you real soon.